How's it going, guys? The Pre-Boy Offense. My name's Saj, and I'm going to give you the Week 6 preview for all these games in the NFL. And it's going to be awesome. I think this is one of the most stacked weeks that we've had in terms of like entertaining football games, but like also some really great survivor picks. I'll have a video coming out tomorrow about like top 3 games I love, top 3 games I hate. But just a quick like full week preview. Something to note, this is our first like bye week heavy week. So we have the San Francisco 49ers, the New York Jets, the Falcons, and the Saints all taking a break this week. So don't worry about them. In terms of those teams, we probably weren't, outside of the Saints, we probably weren't interested in ever taking any of those teams anyways. Until San Fran gets their quarterback situation and get a little more healthy. So that's great at the bye weeks now. Jimmy Garoppolo comes back, George Kittle comes back. That's perfect. That's everything you want for this team. Then they become a bettable team in the future. Jets, still a bad team. They really need to turn some stuff around if they're ever going to be an asset for us. The Falcons, I really liked that their offense clicked against the Jets, but the most important thing I think here is this bye week's perfect for them because we've seen that Matt Ryan has kind of had this a little like 2-game renaissance, getting some stats, looking a lot better. So getting Calvin Ridley back with the team, having a week off just to like implement him better into the system. Hopefully Arthur Smith kind of figures it out, a way to like get all these pieces their targets. And just really make a productive offense, because with that defense being as bad as it is, that offense needs to be incredible for us to ever use them in the future. And if they don't ever get that good, then they're just going to be a team that we want to stay away from picking like against, because if it ever clicks in a game, it could be the reason that the game you're picking against them, like you lose, right? And the Saints, I thought it was awesome that Sean Payton let Jameis Winston throw the ball. That's what we want to see, right? And like I said, they're a team that we're going to be interested in moving forward, because it looks like if Sean Payton's smart enough, he'll start using Jameis Winston the way he's intended to use, and just kind of unleash him on defenses, for better or worse. All right, but moving on, we're going to start with a Thursday night game, and that's the Bucs versus the Eagles. So, something I keep saying in every video, people are probably getting tired of me saying it, but good team versus bad team. There's a situation of a good team in the Bucs versus a bad team in the Eagles. Now, I talked about how the Eagles did beat the Panthers last week, and I consider that an upset. But when we kind of broke it down a bit more, watched the game a bit more, you saw why the Eagles were able to beat the Panthers, and it was an overrated defense that kind of cultivated some stats on some weak teams. The Panthers, they were like a top defense in the league, but kind of got exposed by the freelancing of Jalen Hurts. So now we're going to take that as the reason that they won. Is Jalen Hurts going to be able to do that against the Bucs? I do not think so. I think the defensive front for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is way too talented. They're going to keep them contained or sack them. They're way more ferocious than the Panthers are in the pass rushing department. And we've seen them do it to better oppositions than what the Panthers have. And then also, I know that the Tampa Bay secondary is kind of weak right now, but I don't have the confidence in Jalen Hurts to dissect them the way they do, the way that like other teams could dissect this injured secondary. And even if he does, we're going to flip to the Bucs side, and I will take Tampa Bay and Tom Brady to go toe-to-toe with any team that wants to get into a gunfight with them. And, Bruce Arians as well calling the shots. So I don't think Brady and Arians are ever going to be outgunned by a team, certainly not the Eagles. So if you're looking for a safe pick and just want to kind of coast through the week, like I think the Bucs are as safe it's going to get in the league, and picking them against the Eagles is, almost a for sure win. Something else to note, I think, is the injury, or the Dallas Goedert's probably going to be out this game as well. That would have probably been like my primary focus if I was like the Eagles, to like expose the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just because with the pass rush the Bucs are getting, I don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to be able to hit downfield as much, even with those weak corners. But yeah, so quick breakdown. Yeah, I'll go Bucs over Eagles, confident pick, comfortable pick. But I think we got some other games in here you don't have to use the big guns just yet. We'll see. All right, next game I want to talk about is Dolphins-Jags. Now, this one is in London, so another early game. And it looks like Tua is going to be back. If he's not, it's, still be the Jacoby Brissett show. In that case, wouldn't be confident taking the Dolphins over the Jags. I just let this one slide. I know this would be like such a sneaky, nice one. Take the Dolphins when you can, get this win over the Jags, because the Jags are a team that we pegged as a team that we always want to pick against. And, they're kind of going through some internal turmoil right now with Urban Meyer and everything there. And how does a rookie head coach deal with the traveling across the sea, doing an early start, getting his team acclimated to that, that potential time shift and everything like that. But it's also because of that I'm not too confident in picking the Dolphins in this game, even if Tua is playing. Like, that just seems like a variable that, like, if you're jet lagged, if you're kind of like not ready, if your equipment staff, something goes wrong with that, or like something like just it takes something to go wrong for a team just be out of sync, and like maybe the Jags win. I don't think they win, but it's just when there's these like wild cards up in the air and something as easy to identify as just going to England and playing a game, I want to stay away from that. And you saw last week where it was like, I think it was the Jets or the Falcons, one of the teams, I think it was the Jets, forgot their kicking net. And luckily the game didn't come down to that or whatever, but they were able to make an improv one with some goalposts and like a soccer net and stuff. But it's just like little things like that happen. Little things like that are enough to get into a team's head and throw them off their game plan. So just stay away from London games. It's just, there's too much up in the air. So Dolphins, Jags, don't take it. I do think the Dolphins win if Tua's playing. If Tua's not playing, I still think the Dolphins win. So braver people than me will take this game, but I will not touch it just because of that factor. All right, Vikings, Panthers. Now this is an interesting game because I just kind of went in on the Panthers and recently in a few videos about how they're not legit. They kind of have come back down to earth. They're pad statting with some of those weak teams that they were beating. And I think it's all true. I think when you go up against a team like the Vikings, who I mentioned have played down or play up to their opponent, so you're never going to get blowouts from the Vikings. You're just going to get consistent performances, but inconsistency on their defense, which is, I think, what's the leaky part. It's like sometimes they're shutting teams to like less than 15 points. Other games are letting teams score like 30 points. It's just, hard to bank on, but it's identifiable in terms of like they're playing down to their opponent. So when they're playing down to opponents, do we think these opponents are capable of capitalizing on a team that's not, fully performing? And I think against a team like the Panthers, they're fully capable. We saw Sam Darnold have an incredible start to the season, start proving people wrong. He's like, I'm not the New York Jets Sam Darnold. But these last two games against Dallas and stuff, he's kind of come back down to earth. He's throwing some interceptions, some lame duck interceptions. He needs to get out of his head. And I think before we can take the Panthers in a game moving forward, we have to be confident in the Sam Darnold we're going to get. And I'd like to see him string together another game or 2 games of just like confident play, real like clean catches to DJ Moore, no interception type of stuff, the stuff that was keeping them in it against those weak teams in the beginning. But the Vikings, I don't think we can say they're a weak team. I think they're kind of one of the better mediocre teams for whatever that's worth. Kirk Cousins is still playing, great. Last game he was good enough against Detroit and stuff. So yeah, I will take the Vikings over the Panthers. But that's another game I kind of stay away from. Like I said, they're 2 relatively close teams. But yeah, it's not really the week to get cheeky. So moving on from that, Rams versus Giants is good team, bad team. I know I talked about the Stafford finger injury. There's enough like goodwill built up with Sean McVay and the offensive pieces on the Rams for me to overlook the finger injury for Stafford. If they feel like they have to hand the ball off and rule the game that way, I think they're totally capable of that. Against a lot of other opponents, like maybe not, I'd stay away from this game. But against the Giants, without Saquon, it looks like Kenny Galladay's not going to be there, and with Daniel Jones going through concussion protocol right now, they're not going to be a full-fledged team, and they were a bit of a team on the rise. Like I keep talking about how Daniel Jones was playing great this season. Not enough to keep up with the Rams and that defense and stuff. So the Rams, comfortable pick for me this week. Like I said, good team versus bad team. Texans, Colts. Texans, yeah, bad team as long as Davis Mills is playing. Colts, they had a nice little game there with the Ravens, showed that they're a competent team, but maybe not as good as those top teams like they like to believe they are. I think the Colts are a good pick this week. I think if you're ever gonna take the Colts, the Texans game or the Jags game or something would be like the time to take them. So they have a few of those built into their schedule, being from the AFC South and playing both those teams twice. So I like this Colts Texans pick. And Carson Wentz against the Ravens D played good, threw for 400 yards, couple touchdowns and stuff. And if it wasn't for some Blankenship kicking, they would have won that game, and maybe we're feeling a lot differently about the Colts. But football's a mental game just as much as it's a physical game, and losing a game like that takes a lot out of you. So I can understand some, like, people being a little hesitant about taking the Colts. Like, maybe let's see them rebound from this game before we start weighing about how confident we are in them. But if there's ever going to be a way to rebound, it's against the Texans, it's against the Jags. And yeah, when you have a coach like Frank Reich, I just think he's so comfortable in the situation right now in terms of division opponent, just being through this process and stuff. And I think the play you saw to Carson Wentz was good, which is awesome. One of the best games he's had, right? So I'm confident with the Colts over the Texans. Another 1 o'clock game, Chargers-Ravens, one of the best games of the weekend of all season so far. It's two teams in stride, like outside of the Ravens' health stuff. These two teams are firing on all cylinders. We saw the Chargers, Justin Herbert throwing for like 398 or something yards and 4 touchdowns against a Browns defense that is so good. And then Lamar throwing for how many yards and like how many touchdowns, but like the way he did it, like the stats were almost irrelevant. It was like when it was crunch time, he ran the ball, he threw the ball, he did everything he had to. Some like messy fumbles there, but I expect him to move on from that, learn from that, be better with those situations. This is an incredible game. But when I look at it like, a little deeper, would I be surprised if the Ravens win? No. But if I have to put money on it, or in Survivor, if I had to pick a team, 100% the Chargers, just because what Herbert's been doing to defenses, it's so like the opponents are irrelevant. He did it against a great defense in the Browns. He's done it against bad defenses, and whatever the Ravens are, which exists in this like nexus of in between good and bad, they have like great plays, but consistently on a play-by-play basis, they haven't been there. Herbert's just going to eat that up. He's going to get the yards. I think there's a handily place to take the Chargers. I think they have good matchups coming up. Like they'll have a Broncos game, they'll have a Raiders game. Raiders Chargers isn't always going to be a nice pick now with like that team in turmoil. But if you really press for it and you just like living life on the edge, like I think Chargers over Ravens is a confident pick. But they're a big gun. You kind of want to save them, right? All right, moving on from that game now. Chiefs Washington, and we talked about the Chiefs. I'm gonna make some clarifications here. I've been ragging on the Chiefs, and rightfully so. Their defense is terrible. Their offense isn't clicking in the way that it should be clicking. It's producing, but it's not winning games. Against Washington, like they're not gonna lose this game. Like Washington's not the team to capitalize on those types of like game states and stuff. Taylor Heineke's still a coin flip every time he puts the ball in his hand. Washington's got like I said, they just got like such a talented defenses, but it's just not being achieved this year, and it feels like you can't have in Survivor, you can't bet on something you haven't seen yet, right? You got to wait for it to actually formulate, exist, and then it becomes something that we can, appropriately, assess and take moving forward, or like assume moving forward, and that's just not going to happen against the Chiefs. The secondary, like outside. The D-line is talented for Washington, but the secondary has never been talented. The Chiefs are gonna expose that, right? You can get a pass rush from Mahomes, even with that rebuilt O-line that's still not doing anything, and he's still gonna be able to pick it up. There are some injury concerns with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, so that would be like my biggest concern from this game. But I think for the most part, this kind of falls into good team, bad team. I know the Chiefs are underperforming and I'm ragging on them, but we still have to consider them a good team and Washington a bad team. All right, now moving on. So I picked Chiefs to win that game. And Packers, Bears. So the Bears won their last game, but the Bears didn't win like in a convincing fashion. Like there's a reason there weren't like headlines for Justin Fields, and it was because he was managing the game. He had like a super low depth of target. I think it was like 6 or 5 yards or something, which is like fine because you're getting completions, you're keeping your team alive, but it's not what you want to see in terms of like moving the needle on our comfort, like how comfortable we are as a team, analyzing this team in terms of Survivor. The Packers have been getting sacked too, like Aaron Rodgers has been getting sacked, so maybe there's something there with the Bears D-line, who have been putting up a like average amount of pressure. But I don't think so. I think this is good team, bad team. Aaron Rodgers comes in there. He's going to, dice up the Bears and, comfortably take the Packers. Something to keep an eye on with the Packers is just they've been getting into some close ones. So the Packers might be their own worst enemy, kind of like, the coin flip of the Vikings team. I feel like the Vikings are playing down to opponents, but they're losing some close ones. I think the Packers are also playing down to opponents, and they're just winning some of those games too. So I think one thing I want to look at in this rivalry game, the oldest rivalry in the NFL, is what the Packers look like. Because if they're playing down to the Bears as well as like Cincinnati and stuff like that, and the Lions for a half, like that kind of makes me a little more iffy. And maybe we want to get rid of the Packers sooner rather than later, because if they start falling apart, if that coin starts flipping the other way, maybe they won't be bettable in the future, right? But I think for this game, Packers over Bears, super comfortable. Look for Justin Fields to I don't think regress, but I think he'll kind of be a little overwhelmed in this game. I think the Packers secondary and defense can keep him on the ropes. They've got a bit of tape on him now too, so that's always nice for a defense. All right, Bengals, Lions. Bengals are the better team. I don't think this is good team, bad team. I think this is just, a bad team in the Lions, and a Bengals team is like an opportunistic team. Very much run first. Joe Burrow's playing okay, but I think it's enough. The Lions just seem a little cursed this year. This is not their year. They could probably keep this one close. If there was ever going to be a game that the Lions could win, is it this game? Potentially, but they've been in all their games. And they still find a way to lose. So take the Bengals. Injuries and stuff, they're pretty okay right now. Nothing too influential in terms of survivor like impact. As long as Joe Burrow's healthy, hopefully he doesn't take those hits like he took last week. That'd be nice. But take Bengals over the Lions. It's tough. I don't like ripping on the Lions, and it's tough to kind of analyze them, saying it's not their year. But it really just, like, after that Minnesota game, it really just looks like it's not their year. So all right, Cardinals, Browns, the other like best game of the weekend. Holy shit. Don't take this game because I could see it going either way. The Cardinals run defense, they can't stop anything. The Browns, what do? They run the ball incredibly well. So like maybe they just dominate that way. Cardinals can throw and have, got a ton of air yards. The Browns secondary has talent, but it's not really producing. So like the pass rush is happening, but you saw Herbert throw on them. You saw Mahomes throw on them. This game can really go either way. I think these two teams are really close, even though I think the Browns have the best roster. I think the Cardinals are schemed up and play in just such a manner that it will match up really well with the Browns. I do think the Browns end up winning this game. I think if Rodney Hudson can't play, and then the Cardinals are missing two of their top cornerbacks, Marco Wilson and Byron Murphy. Chandler Jones is going through COVID protocol right now. Those are some injuries that are absences right now that are really impactful. And even just getting back two of those guys, I don't think helps you enough to beat the Browns. So sucks for the Cardinals, but hey, this is what happens. The healthiest team in the NFL usually wins the games, and right now that's the Browns. So I take the Browns to beat the Cardinals. But again, I think that's a game you want to stay away from, more so than the Chargers-Ravens. I think that's so close. It might be a situation if who has the ball less, and if it's Kyler, then I would probably expect them to go down the field and do something. But all right, moving on. Already at 18 minutes, got to move on. So yeah, Cowboys, Patriots. This is a situation. The Patriots aren't a bad team, but this is a good team in the Cowboys playing, a noticeably worse team in the Patriots. Dak is looking like a real signal caller behind the line. He's shown incredible steps forward in just understanding defenses. His audibles and his play calling, or his switching, has been insane. I've been super impressed with it. He looks like one of the last of these young quarterbacks that's capable of doing that. So many guys that are young in this league don't really adopt that. He's kind of the last one that I've seen that's been in full control of an offense. And it's noticeable because he's producing, he's calling his shots for the downfield ones. He's noticing all these coverages. He's almost always making the right decision. And I just think as long as he's doing that, the Patriots secondary, the Patriots defense won't be able to stop him. They're coached well. Bill Belichick's great, and he deserves all the respect in the world. But just right now, you're running straight into a buzzsaw that is the Dallas offense. And I've taken a bit of a step back on the Dallas defense. I went back and watched some film on them, and I don't think the Dallas defense is doing anything incredibly well and game-changing, but they play at such a speed that quarterbacks aren't really processing their instinctual movements like appropriately. And that's where like Diggs is getting all these interceptions. He's putting himself in such a vulnerable spot, but his ball skills are just so high that he can jump routes. He can, blow his coverage and just try and hop on top of the receiver and get these interceptions. And he's doing it well. But we've also seen him have games where he's giving up, in those games where he gets like an interception, giving up 80 yards and stuff. So I think it's just going to take a team like the Cardinals or like the Chargers. Well, the Chargers and the Cowboys already played, and that was like a slugfest. It was like 20-17. But like when you go against these other teams, you saw Tampa take advantage of it too. The defense is good. The defense is opportunistic, but I think a well coached offense can take advantage of this and the instincts that they have. And I think the defense is being coached well, but sorry, just like a note, I know the Patriots aren't going to be the ones that are going to take advantage of it. Like Mac Jones isn't going to go downfield and stuff. If there ever was a game for him to unload his arm, like and just get down the field, this is it, because this would be like a really sneaky way to just like win the game. But I don't think Mac Jones is going to do it. I think you could take the Cowboys over the Patriots, and if not, like woof, like I said it here, but I don't really know if I could call that. But yeah, I'll take Cowboys over Patriots. I just don't think dinking and dunking that the Patriots offense is doing is going to be enough to keep up with the Dallas offense. All right, so Raiders, Broncos. Not to get too deep into it, it's a healthy organization in terms of like coaching and like where they're at mentally versus a team that just has to reevaluate everything right now. So I think the Broncos are a good pick. If you still have the Broncos available, I would take the Broncos to beat the Raiders. Don't overthink it too much. And it's a shame. And I don't want to say that I called it, but it's just like, were the Raiders 3-0? Was that a little too good to happen? Because I kept saying I don't really want to take the Raiders because I think I've seen this Raiders team over and over and over again. And then, just on point, like obviously nothing like this has happened before, but just shit hit the fan, and it just all went downhill so fast, which is a shame for Derek Carr and all those players. But yeah, outside of it, that their situation is beyond football, but it impacts football and it impacts this game and Survivor. And I think comfortably taking the Broncos over the Raiders is a good move for people who still have that available. And again, with the Broncos, we're still waiting to see what they are. I don't think the Raiders will ever tell us what they are, but I think we can, we know enough about the Broncos to sneak this week out over the Raiders. So Broncos over Raiders, another good pick. Now we get into the night game and the Monday game. Seahawks versus Steelers. Without the injury to Russell Wilson, this would have been Seahawks all day. With the injury to Russell Wilson, I don't even know if I want to watch this game. Ben Roethlisberger and that, like, I want to see Najee Harris. I'll watch Najee play, but like, woof, Geno Smith versus Ben Roethlisberger can prime time. Jeez, does anyone want to watch this? And the Seahawks defense has been bad, but it's just like, can Ben Roethlisberger take advantage of the Steelers defense? No, like he can't do anything. So I think if I have to pick a team to win this, it's like, yeah, we'll pick the Steelers to beat the Seahawks on the back of Najee. Just hand it to them. And like anybody who has Najee on their fantasy team, like enjoy. But like both these teams are so bad on both sides of the ball that you don't like. It's wild because like for the last like 10 years, I think you can say both these teams have been like cornerstones of the NFL like build, like the league, and now they're just so, this matchup, like normally it's like should be like getting you excited, and I don't even want to watch it, but I will. So, but yeah, Steelers over Seahawks. Not much I can say. It's just two teams in bad situations. TJ Watt looked healthy, so maybe, and I just think he'll probably single-handedly get to Geno Smith and fuck shit up. But yeah, Steelers over Seahawks. And then the Monday night game, this looked like it was going to be a banger before, but now with the way the Titans are, I don't think they have any chance against the Bills. Bills are just too competent. Is this good team versus bad team? I think it is. I think the Titans are a bad team. If the Titans were in any division that wasn't the AFC South, I don't think they're making it to the playoffs. But luckily, they get 6 like almost cakewalk games. Sorry Colts, but you're thrown into that too. Until we see a bit more out of the Titans, until they're kind of fully healthy, we'll have opportunities to take the Titans, I think, when they're playing Jaguars again, when they're playing like Houston again and stuff like that. So, hope's not lost. Just don't get cute. If like if there's ever a time to take the Titans, it's not against the Bills, right? And I really don't. I don't want to like beat a dead horse. Bills are good. Defense is playing good. Josh Allen's playing better than he started this year off, which is good. That's what you want to see. You want to see him improving, not regressing to what he was like a couple of years ago. And then the Titans, yeah, just find your footing, and we'll find moments that we can take this team, but it is not this week. So that's my Survivor preview, guys, for Week 6 of the NFL season. I'll go into some games a lot deeper. Not a lot deeper, but deeper enough that you can kind of break it down a bit more. With my love and hate games probably coming out tomorrow. So yeah, really just honestly enjoy this game, this week of football, because I think, like I said, there's the 9:30 a.m. game. Sorry, for East Coast time, 9:30 a.m. game is the Dolphins Jags. I mean, just put it on because it's football in the morning. But then 105 Chargers Ravens. Brandon Staley, I said, one of my favorite coaches. This guy is super like analytics driven. He's very football like theology driven and theory driven, and you've seen it with him going on fourth downs and situationally what his decision making is. I think it's exactly what this league needs, and it's a lot less of this old mentality of like what you should be doing in football. So if you guys just want to learn about football, listen to Brandon Staley interviews, watch this game, really take in what they're doing. And then, on the other side of the sideline, John Harbaugh, who's a guy that has adapted his system. People said this was a run-first team. People said Lamar Jackson, the question marks around Lamar Jackson was he couldn't throw the ball. And I think he's proving his doubters wrong too. So even if they lose this game, this is a great stage for them to show. And it's at 1, right? There's not much else at 1 that you can watch if you're like a neutral fan like myself. Well, I'm a Cardinals fan, but like a neutral fan like a lot of people, right? This is an incredible game. Really watch it. And then at 4:05, so when that game's done, you get the Cardinals Browns, who again, like I feel like I just described Brandon Staley with all these words that I could use for Stefanski as well. He is super progressive, super like analytics and stats driven, and when it comes to football, that type of stuff is like what you want to see, because they've built this incredible team in Cleveland. And if you guys just want to understand why this team's so good, it's the way they drafted at these like key positions with wide receiver, with like the line, with the D line and stuff, like the O line, D line stuff. It's incredible. And then he has that same mentality where he knows his limitations with Baker, but he's on a rookie contract. So they built this team around him that can capitalize with Baker's like kind of handicaps and stuff, but are still producing and are like probably one of the best, if not one of the best teams in the league. And then on the other side of that game, you have the Cardinals, Cliff Kingsbury, a guy who's like rebuilt his air raid offense to be absolutely like groundbreaking, I guess, in terms of like how he's using receivers. People criticize everything he's done with like DeAndre Hopkins, with like the movements and stuff like that, but that offense is up there as one of the best with like Tampa Bay and stuff like that. I really think if you guys are interested in learning about football, watch these 2 games. Just take it in. Incredible games if you have the opportunity. So I'll get off my like little soapbox now, guys. Just a little side note, but yeah, enjoy those games, because when you have to watch the Steelers versus Seahawks later, you're gonna wish you did. So have a good weekend, guys. Bye.